Hello everyone, in this video we continue Galleys and Galleons, this time adding some fantastical rules. Okay folks, hello, welcome to MJ Hobby Corner. I am MJ, also known as Martin. I will be your host in this video. If you want to help support the channel, you can always do all the YouTube-y things, like and subscribe if you will. Check out our Patreon or hop on over to Wargames Vault and check out Scratch Builder Monthly. I play my games with a lot of scratch builds. Anything, if there's a game I want to play and I don't have the models for it, I simply build and build away. So that is a big part of the channel as well. And today I'm going to continue a little bit of Galleys and Galleons because I'm really enjoying this game. Galleys and Galleons is part of Ganesha Games, written by Nicholas Wright, and this uses the Song of Blades and Heroes mechanic for naval actions in the Age of Sail, Age of Discovery, but the game is extremely modular. You can expand it to maybe include things like ironclads, and river ironclads, all kinds of other airships and sea monsters and all kinds of things can go into your games. And so I love the modularity that this game provides. Now I am using WizKids Pirates of the Spanish Main miniatures. This was a game that I really enjoyed and I played with my niece a long time ago, and I still have a lot of the ships, but I am also using scratch builds. I am starting to make my own ships so that I can represent the vessels in later games, things like ghost ships, steam ironclads, and various other vessels of different eras. So if I want to play it as a fictitious game in a different era, I can. Now for today, I'm going to continue with the adventures of the Spanish Armada, which we're going to see in a little bit, and some ghost vessels that have come to stop the flotilla of Spanish warships. Let's check out the table, but first I got to make a correction on the previous video. Okay, so here is the table that we will be using for this little demo game, and I'm not going to play a full game, but we are going to go in order with the turns and see what happens, what situations arise, and then also if the game nears its end and I haven't gone over some of these things, then we will add them as little demos so that we can see how the rules work. All right, so before I go to the correction of last video, let's see what we have here. We have 3 vessels from the Spanish Armada. And this is the Trinidad. It is a merchant galleon. This was the same vessel we saw in our previous game. This time, this vessel is being escorted by the Spanish frigate. We have a Spanish yacht. It is a small merchant yacht. Latin rigged with the triangular sails, and this is more of a privateer vessel, but it is working with the Spanish crown in this fictitious game. Now, one very important thing is that the Spanish vessels will have blessed weapons. Okay, so having blessed guns, the cannonballs are coated in holy oil and such things, and so these guns are going to be very important. And that's because on this side, over this ship graveyard, which is in the shallows, this follows all of the shallow water rules. There are 2 ghost ships that have surfaced from the grave, okay? And so these are the undead vessels. We have a, let's see, this is a ghostly galleon right here, and this is a scratch build. And this ghostly galleon is named the Rigor Mortis. This is the Rigor Mortis. And it is galleon rigged. It is a ghost ship. It has intimidating, which gives us +1 combat for boarding. It is also spectral. These ships do follow the wind gauge. However, they can go through things. They ignore the shallows effects. They can avoid collision. That is something that I'm going to add to it because it is spectral. And enemy gunnery has -1 combat against these ships. However, also these ships cannot be crit by normal guns. However, because the Spanish vessels are carrying blessed ammunition, they will be able to hurt these ships. These ships also have undead swashbucklers, so we can imagine some skellies on board, and these are +1 to boarding actions. So I think by that quick rundown of the stats, the Spanish vessels want to avoid, if they can, to be boarded by these ships. Okay, so they want to keep them at a distance and fire their guns at them. The smaller ship is a ghost merchant. It is galleon rigged, and I used some of the rules for making your own ships, and I gave it spectral. It also has swashbuckler, undead, and intimidating, which gives it the +1 boarding action. Okay, so these ships cost more points. They're roughly about 146 points. We're a little bit different in the points. There's a difference like 2 or 3 points between the little fleets, but it's the closest that I could get it. And yeah, so that's it. Now here we have the shallows. We have the grave. You can kind of see the boats underneath, the pieces of boats underneath the shallows. This is the grave. We have some fog here. We have our wind gauge and a little bit of a rocky jetty here coming out of the shallows. And here we have something new. We have a seaweed bed or seaweed bank. And on that seaweed bed is a tiny mermaid. Okay, and I made that out of paper just to mark the fact that there are mermaids in the seaweed bed. So seaweed beds will slow down a ship. Any ship that crosses here slows down by 1 stick. However, it also suffers a boarding action of 1 combat due to the mermaids that then try to swarm the ship. As long as the ship is able to exit the bed, that's when the mermaid boarding action stops. So anytime the ship is crossing this bed, there is a risk of damage from the mermaids that are just sitting there waiting for prey. By the way, mermaids do, there are no rules that say that the mermaids will not attack ghost ships, okay? I think in this game, I'm just going to say that the ghost ships are immune just because of their nature, but that's not what's said in the rules. In the rules, basically, the mermaids attack everybody, okay? So, just for now. However, also, the ghost ships are immune to the slowing because they're spectral, you know? So I think that makes sense. So that threat is not so much to the ghost ships. It is more to our Spanish armada there that has to try and avoid that spot at all costs. Okay, so first things first, let's roll initiative. I'm going to take a white die and a blue die. Blue dice will be the ghosts, and white die will be the humans. So we're going to roll to see who's attacker and defender. Whoever has the highest is the defender. Okay, so our ghost ships are the defenders. All right, well, I guess that means that this ancient grave site of ships beneath the waves is being protected by these ghost ships. So these ships are going to stop anyone that comes close within these waters. By the way, it'll be a variant of the scenario Pursuit, where the ships have to go to the other table edge, some kind of safe zone here. We're just going to do that for ease, but there are a lot of other scenarios that you can play, including scenarios with treasure. So for now, that's what I'm doing to keep things simple. All right. Okay, so the wind is southeast. The defenders have it at southeast. So the attackers, which are the Spaniards, are going to move this, I think, to the south. All right. So the wind is to the south now. And we'll see how that affects our ghost ships. They get the first turn as they burst out of the water, form out of the water, and begin to navigate towards the human vessels that are coming. Okay, so the wind being south means it hits roughly here. That means that according to the bow of the ship, let me straighten that a little bit. Okay, it is, I'm going to call that between close haul and broad reach. So that means that the captain gets a chance to choose which one. And this is a galleon rigged ship, so I think I'm going to keep it as broad reach. Broad reach gives these ships a long move. And so let us move here. And these ships can go in the fog. The fog does have special rules. We'll see what happens afterwards. That is my mandatory movement. So I took care of that right at the beginning. I'm now going to choose a couple of actions for the ship and see what happens. This ghostly galleon does not have sluggish anymore. It is a supernatural vessel. So unlike the other galleon, this does not have sluggish. I think the captain is going to try and take 2 actions. Quality 3. Both pass successfully. The ship now has 2 actions after its mandatory movement. And I think it's going to use both of these actions to actually turn the vessel into the fog. Okay, so it turns its heading right towards the fog. All right, that is one activation by these ships. I think the second vessel is going to roll for the orders. I should probably roll this first before the mandatory wind movement. So let's do that in the next turns. Try to roll the quality, the actions first, and then go through mandatory movement if it's going to happen in the beginning of the ship's movement. All right, so this one has quality 3. It's going to also take 2 actions. Both pass, so it has 2 actions. Let's move the mandatory wind movement. It's going to happen right in the beginning of the turn for this ghost ship. And now it's going to also maneuver 2 points. So roughly here and roughly there. Okay, and that's its maneuver. It's going to pass through the fog as well. And that ends the turn for the ghost vessels. Placing the wind template over, the heading template over the ships, we see that they're right in the middle between broad reach and running. That means the captains all have the decision as to which one to choose. So I think I'm going to give them broad reach, at least with the frigate. And now they probably don't see these ships yet because there's fog here. And these ships are ghostly, so they're traveling very slowly there. And I don't think these guys will see them just yet. They'll have to come out of this fog, and then they'll spot them. So let's choose. I'm going to choose running for the frigate. I'm going to choose running for the frigate. And let's see. The frigate has galleon rigged sails. So running is a medium stick. Okay, just place that there. Let's give it a couple of actions. And I think he's gonna take 2 actions. I'm being a little conservative, but 2 actions. What is the quality of the frigate? It is quality 3. So 2 actions, let's see. All right, 1 failure. That's okay, it's only 1 failure. Now we have to be careful with any ship that gets 2 failures. It's going to be a turnover. So now we'll see that clearly in this particular little demo. So he gets 1 action. We get to discard that other failure. We still have the turn. And now he's going to move a mandatory move with the wind. So the frigate is running with respect to the wind. And now one action, I think it's going... here is the seaweed bank, but do they see that seaweed bank? Probably not. What I'm going to do, it doesn't mention this in the rules, but you can probably see these are kelp beds that are either floating, seaweed that's floating, so you can see it. I'm going to just say that as soon as they are within a medium stick, they can see the seaweed bed here, because that seaweed would be all over the surface. So, the ships will have line of sight to that. I'm going to say it's still a little bit too far. I'm going to give this ship a little bit of a heading change. That will be its action. Oh, see, I don't... that. Okay, there we go. We're going to just turn the heading a little bit, because we see these ships are traveling together. We don't want to collide. It's going to turn his heading towards the fog a bit. Okay, next ship, the merchant galleon Trinity. Trinity is going to choose broad reach, so that means it's going to have a long stick of movement. That's how it is with galleons. It's going to only take one order, so captain is a bit cautious, and the galleon merchant has quality 3. Rolls a 5. Yes, he does take one order, and he is going to move his long stick mandatory movement from the wind, and then I think he is going to change his heading a bit to keep in pace with the frigate. Now he is sluggish, so we have to keep that in mind. All right, the Spanish yacht. Let us see what its rigging tells us. Now the wind is going south. Oh, that's right. It's either broad reach or running. Same for that ship. Okay. Broad reach is 1 long and running is 1 short. And this is Latin rig. They're very similar to the galleons. We're going to give him, he's going to choose broad reach, which gives him the long stick. But I think I'm going to change the actions a little bit. We're going to give him 2 actions. He is quality 2, so this is a good, very good crew and ship. So 2 actions possible. Yes, both are successful. It was quality 2. So instead of doing my wind movement in the beginning, my mandatory wind movement, I think this vessel is going to spend 1 action. Now he can turn up to twice. That is optional. I'm just going to give him 1 turn, and he is going to do a long move. And I'm going to spend 1 action to, again, turn. Now, he cheated a little bit because he can have up to 2 turning points per action spent because he is more maneuverable. But I just gave him a point turn for each action. So what we see when we put the template over is this vessel is at close hauled because of the angle of its bow. This one is between close hauled and in irons. So this the undead captain is going to choose close hauled. So it gets a medium move with the wind. Okay, now quality 3 for the ghostly galleon, the rigor mortis, and we're rolling. I'm going to give him 2 actions. Yes, 2 actions successful. It's going to go first. I think I'm going to use one of its actions first, and it does not have the sluggish rule, but it doesn't have any special rule that allows it to turn more than once. So we're going to keep 1 turn, and then it's going to do its mandatory movement. So it goes right into the fog. All right, so it didn't quite make it, just a little bit, the tip out of the fog. So the fog begins to part as this ghost ship suddenly begins to kind of form in front of the Spanish ships. Now, they still wouldn't see it. They might see some kind of spectral glow or something in the fog, which is going to beat them to quarters, I would think. Okay, this ship is definitely going to become visible. So the Spanish ships suddenly see this ghost ship right here appear. So now they know the presence of these ships. I think he's going to use his 2 actions. They don't collide with each other. They ignore other ships. I think I'm going to just give it that heading change right there. I can give it another action. And it's going to point its bow directly towards the Spanish ships. Okay, and the Spanish vessels can now see the form of a ghost vessel with all its ragged sails, and there's something else in the fog that is glowing an eerie glow. Let's see, let's give it 3 actions. 2 failures. All right, there it goes. 2 failures. Okay, there are no doubles, so 2 failures. Play immediately passes to the other player. However, this ship still has to move its mandatory wind movement. I really like that rule. Okay, so the wind is coming from the south. The ship is running. It is going to get a medium move, and that is a mandatory move before play passes to the ghost ships. All right, turn was lost to the ghost ships. Okay, let's try this large ship in the fog. I'm going to give the ghost ship possibly 2 actions. Okay, 1 failure. That's okay. Turn remains with them. They get 1 action. I think the 1 action is going to be first. And then I'm just going to roughly give it a heading change with that 1 action. And now, the ship is in irons. Okay, so this ghost vessel stays where it is. It only had 1 action. It is in irons, so it cannot move to a different heading. So this is quality 3 for the merchant, the ghostly merchant. 1 failure. He only gets 1 action. Give him a heading change. Suddenly turns the ship this way. Now he can go through that seaweed bed without a problem, since he is ghostly. And now the wind comes at it, and where's the bow? Still in irons. So suddenly the wind is in such a direction that both ghost ships stop where they are. Again, this time, quality 3. 1 failure. Okay, he only gets 1 action. All right, now I got to decide if I want to move that wind movement before or after he has done any action. So the wind is south. He is still running. That is a medium move. Okay, he's gonna have to do something because that ship is entering the seaweed bed, the seaweed bank. They know it's there. He is going to change heading into the wind, and now we have to check the new heading because it is a new heading. But the ship is running. The wind is still coming from the rear. So the bow of the ship roughly points. It's actually right in between the 2 running marks, but they're both running. So either way, it's going to go the medium stick, mandatory wind movement right towards the ghostly ship. So what is Trinity doing? I don't know. She's going to try to position herself, hopefully next turn, for a gunnery action with those blessed rounds. Movement. All right, now what to do? It's got to help the merchant ship. So 4 and a 2. Damn it. All right, it fails 1, so it only gets 1 action. This ship's not going to be able to fire. These guys don't have it together. He's going to move a mandatory wind movement in the beginning. And now he only has 1 action. Now he does have chaser guns, but this ship is still obscured by the fog. If the ghost ship wins, then there's no effect. Okay, so -2. The combat to the frigate is a 4. So 4 minus 2 is 2. Who wins the fight? This vessel has 3. The ghost ship has 3. The frigate has gained 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. And the ghost ship is 3 plus 3 is 6. Okay, they're even. There's no effect. So basically this fires a blessed round. It hits the water, but does not hit its mark. It's a warning shot, I guess. All right, that ends the turn of the frigate. Now let's go to the smaller merchant ship, which is lagging way behind. Where he is respect to the wind. He is still running. So a running yacht. I'm going to risk it. Now he is quality 2. 1 failure. That's okay. There's no doubles, no wind change. And so he gets 2 actions. Influence the wind. He's going to be going 1 point this way. Moving the 2 points due to his Yer ability is optional. So he is going to be running towards the wind. It's still a short move. You know what? He is going to change another point. So he's going to use his 1 action and change 2 points. You can pre-measure in this game, by the way. So that's why I did that. Now, okay, the wind is coming directly. He is in the running position still. All right, no matter what, he's going to be running. So he's going to be short move. That's okay. Fine. He has 1 action after this. But he's going to move 1 point. I'm just going to give him 1 point of movement. So he uses up 2 actions. Okay. So that ends the movement for the yacht. And he is right there. And now we go to the ghost ship. Ghost ship is quality 3. We're going to try to give it 3 actions. Oh, there is a wind change and 3 failures. So, okay, these are double 1s. So, checking the wind shift, there is a random wind shift, is anti-clockwise by 1 point. So, the wind does suddenly shift anti-clockwise. It goes this way now. And it had 3 failures, so play does pass over to me. However, it does have a mandatory wind movement, so straight. So it goes, what I'm going to say, it goes its long move and pulls right alongside the Trinity, scaring the hell out of the sailors in the Trinity. They can see the undead forms on board the deck, howling and screeching. There is no grappling, unfortunately, because it does not have any actions in order to do boarding, boarding action, and see if it can damage this ship. All right, it only gets 1 action. Okay, so Trinity's out of luck. The men are nervous. They're not acting. They're not obeying orders as quickly. So she gets 1 action. She will be able to fire, but this is a normal fire, not a broadside. So it only has a combat of 2. However, I gave a master gunner. That's right. I gave them a master gunner. So they're back to combat 3. So 3 versus 5, however. Let's see. White dice is the Trinity. Okay. In the traditional rules, once this happens, once the target wins, there is no effect. However, I prefer to have both ships firing on each other. So it's like they will both fire, which is a little more realistic. And so whoever wins actually gets to damage the other. That's the way I'm doing it. That's not in the rules, however. We rolled an even number, which is a damage. And 6 plus 5 is 11. This is a 5. Okay, that, when we count the modifiers, we see that this vessel doubles this one. So that is bad news for the Trinity. Doubles. When the modified result doubles the opponent, that ship takes 1 damage, not 2. So 1 damage and then a roll on the critical table. That's the only difference, is the roll on the critical table. So, okay, and just to make things easier, I'll just put the table right here. So the 2-3, the captain is hit. The commander of the vessel has been badly wounded and is taken below decks. One modifier, -1 modifier to quality rolls for the remainder of the game. Now, if this ship had Dread Pirate or Flagship special rules, they lose those. Oh, man. So now the wind pushes Trinity. It's the end of its activation. There's no boarding here. So the wind is south. So Trinity, it's actually running right into the fog. It has no control over this, and it starts to go right into the fog, right into the sights of the other ship. Oh, I think our Trinity captain has made a mistake. The wind is coming at an angle from the rear, so the bow of the ship is running. That is an approximation. Okay, so for the frigate, the wind is mandatory movement right there. And now, what is the range? That is a medium stick. So it is a long, it's past the medium stick into the long stick. So it's a -1, this little distance here. So that is a -1 to its firing. Checking the broadside arcs, we see it comes very close to the Allied ships. I am allowing friendly fire, so we have to be careful here. But these ships are, this ship at least is very far away, and it's not really in the arc. And this ship is almost in the arc, but not quite. So it can fire safely those blessed rounds. Quality 3, the frigate. Yes, both actions, very good. It can have its broadsides. Okay, so that's good. And the ghost ship has a 3 + 5, so that is an 8. 5 + 4 is a 9. This ship wins. However, it is an odd number. Because the result was an odd number, the frigate fires a full broadside, but the holy shells, or these blessed shells, just did not function this time. And the shells either go long or go right through the ghost ship with no effect. So the blessed shells have failed. The Spanish yacht captain freaks out completely as he sees this massive ghost vessel heading straight for it. And now, let's see, I'm going to try and give it 2 actions. Trying to remember to do the quality roll before the wind, just so that I have the actions ready to spend. It has 1 failure, that's okay. And it has a quality 2, so it passes 1 success. Okay, so it has 1 action to spend. Beeline. It does not want to be anywhere near the rigor mortis. Its direction. It is still running. It is still running. So it's going to make a short move, unfortunately. The wind, it has not caught the wind very much. Now it could spend an action and get those oars out. Unfortunately, didn't have another action. And effectively, the ghost ships have now separated the flotilla. The frigate is trying to remain close to the Trinity. There is a threat here. Trinity does not see the shallows because of the fog. And we have this other ghost ship here that is going to threaten it in just a minute. It's going to spend another action to turn yet another point to ensure that it moves in. It's grappling, so it announces its intention to grapple. But that is 2 actions used up. Next, it's going to move forward, 1 medium stick, but it comes into base-to-base contact with the merchant ship, and now spending 1 final action to grapple. Now, it cannot board yet because it has spent its final action into grappling. These undead are ready to board the ship. All right, let's see if Trinity can defend. It is damaged by 1. Both ships are now considered grappled. They're locked, and movement stops for both ships until those grapples are cut. So the rigor mortis is between close haul and in irons because of the way the wind is coming in. So the captain's going to choose the close haul. The rigor mortis is going to attempt 3 actions. And so it has quality 3. Oh, 2 failures. So it's going to take its 1 action, and the ghost ship changes its heading. And now it has to move its mandatory wind movement. Let me just check. See if this point of wind... yes, it gives it broad reach instead of close haul. It moves it towards the broad reach decision. So that is a medium stick. However, it can try to board. It doesn't have enough actions right now to be able to declare a boarding action. And they are very, very, very close together. In the next turn, this vessel will attempt to grapple and board the smaller ship. Okay, the Spanish are not doing very well here. In order for raking fire to take place, the firing ship must be able to attack the bow or stern of the target with a full broadside, and then it can be classified as raking fire. So as the ships are moving, this ship's cannonballs are just strafing along the side there. So it costs 2 actions. It hasn't moved its mandatory movement yet. I'm going to leave that for the end in this particular vessel. And let's see. Now, raking fire gives a -2 combat to the enemy ship. Unfortunately, the raking shots do not do anything to the ghost vessel because the yacht won with an odd number. So it fired a broadside to defend itself. The ghost ship fired back with a few cannons. Very good. So that is the end of the Spaniard turn. It is now the ghost ships. Okay, and so the ghost ship, now we go to the merchant ghost ship. +3 for the white dice. Let's see what happens in this boarding. Oh, no. All right. 5 + 5 is 10. 1 + 3 is 4. Well, guess what? That does double. Okay. So, the modified roll does double the other roll. In boarding actions, when the numbers are doubled like that, the modified rolls double the opponent. It gets 2 damage, and that makes right here the ship is crippled, and then an excess point of damage. Anytime a ship takes excess damage while boarding, it immediately strikes its colors and surrenders. Okay, so Trinity has surrendered. It now it will probably be captured by the ghost vessel and, well, become part of the graveyard itself. So there we go. All right. Oh, not good for the Spanish Armada. All right, let me do one more turn. I think I'll just end it here. Okay, so the rigor mortis, now satisfied that the smaller yacht is leaving the area. He did do his compulsory wind movement. So now let's try to give the rigor mortis some actions. I'm going to take 3 actions. It is quality 3. 2 failures. Not only that, but there's a change in wind direction. All right. Well, it doesn't really care as much. I was going to make it come about. Change its heading. So it's just going to do 1 change heading. It's going to come about by 1 point. And now there is a wind change. Now, wind change is clockwise and going to change to the south. That is because I rolled a double 2. All right, so now the ship took its mandatory action. I mean, it took its action, sorry. Now it does its mandatory action, but because the bow is pointing straight into the wind as the wind changed direction, that ship is now in irons. So it's standing there protecting that little channel. Okay. And now let's just go to the frigate real quick before I end this game. Quality 3. It knows there's a problem. It has 1 failure. This is a double action. So we move the wind again. So it's clockwise. The wind has suddenly shifted. And now it is coming at a new direction. So at an angle this way, the ship is now running, apparently, at that angle. Just making sure. Yep, the ship's bow gives it running. So running is a medium stick of movement. So what the frigate is going to try to do, the shallows are right here. It doesn't have a lot of movement. So it's going to take one action to change heading. And then one action to change heading again, or come about into the fog. That's not going to be enough. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, it is. Here is the shallows. Okay, so that's going to be more than enough. So the frigate saves itself for the time being. But it was very close to running aground. Now the ship is running. And running is a medium stick according to it. So it moves parallel to the grave into the fog to take some cover. Of course, that fog will affect the the ghost ships. There's no rule that says it doesn't. So there's the shallows. We can see it right there. We can see the frigate is running very close, but has saved itself, and it is in the fog. And the Spanish flotilla has basically been broken apart. There is one survivor. We have a missing frigate. We're going to say it's missing. And we have a destroyed merchant galleon. Wow. Very, very interesting game. And that was some of the fantasy rules. To get a taste of the fantasy rules, there's no way these vessels would make it to the safe zone where they needed to be. They've been scattered and torn apart. And I think what's devastating about these seaweed banks is that if the ship is then slowed, let's say traveling at a slow speed, it will then be slowed down to the point that it cannot travel any longer. So travel will stop unless the ship has oars that can help it move through. So for large ships, these things are bad news, because the ship will eventually come to a stop and it will be attacked by mermaids and all this stuff. And yeah, just crazy. Okay, so that ends our little fantasy game in some kind of alternate history using the powers of old with ghost ships and everything else that goes into that kind of game. So I think the ghost ships are pretty powerful. I think if let's say Julie were to play the ghost ships, I'd be in trouble. You know how good Julie is with her rolls. I think first of all, having military ships would help, ships with higher combat values, but then also having those special abilities like marksmen, swashbucklers or gunners, having high castles on the ships, if they're galleons or whatever. I think all those things would really help, because in boarding actions, the ghost vessels can have swashbucklers, and they have the intimidating rule, which gives them another +1 to boarding. So that raises their combat, not to mention the fact that the ships themselves have a pretty good combat value. These are supernatural vessels. They are no longer playing by earthly rules, so they are powerful and terrifying. Up, I'm making the necessary scratch builds. We're going to play Shadow Sea. We will explore that next, now that I'm in a maritime kick, and explore this game more. We want to fight with some ironclads and see how that affects the rules. Ironclads have completely different rules, and they play less by the wind than other ships do. Have a great one, guys. Thank you for your support, and I will see you in the next video.